Hi, writers. Welcome to episode number 63 of How Do You Write? I'm your host, Rachael Herron. I kind of forgot what I was right there. I'm your host, and you're my guest, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm so happy that you're listening. Thank you for tuning in. I have a great show today with J Pelton, who is a dude that I know from the internet, and he is the prolificwriter.net, and he really is a prolific writer, and more than that, he really knows his stuff about craft and getting the words done. He's just a real cool fella. So I know that you're going to enjoy listening to him. In a little life update right now. I've just had an incredibly busy week. It's been kind of insane. I went to Canada for the weekend, as you do. Went to Vancouver with my wife, who went to a game convention. If you get my email, which you should, you've already heard about my fantastic time in Vancouver, where I was at a convention at which I had nothing to do. I had one appointment the whole weekend, and that was to see some really beloved friends. And the rest of the time, I relaxed and took baths, and I wrote, and I read, and I looked out at the beautiful city of Vancouver where we got married 11 years ago. And it was just really a phenomenal time. And I got some work done. So because speaking of prolificness, I have been prolific lately in terms of the revision. I'm back in my groove. Having a fantastic time revising. The thriller should be done pretty soon and ready to send out. And that's exciting. I've also been working on a couple of other projects, just kind of keeping my hand in, a couple of nonfiction things. As soon as I got back from Canada, the next morning, I got in a car with some friends and we drove to Sea Ranch, which is on the Northern California coast. It is a beautiful area that was built in the 70s of these architecturally interesting homes that are right on the bluffs of the ocean. And one of my friends has a house there. So we had a writing retreat where, again, we just got stuff done. We got so much work done. There are sometimes those writing retreats that you go to with friends where you end up, talking more than you do anything else. And then there are the ones where you work hard. And then there are the ones that are really a good combination. And these particular ladies are some of my very, very besties. And we got a ton done, but we also sat out in the hot tub and choked a lot because the smoke here is just so thick. Of course, we were just up by Napa. Once where Sea Ranch is, the sun was red for days, where these fires are devastating and incredibly tragic. And today, as I record, Oakland, the city of Oakland, where I live, has the worst breathability of the air in the entire nation, besides actual Napa where the fires are burning. It's just all of the smoke is kind of funneling down into Oakland because of wind patterns. So kind of hear it in my breath. I'm out of breath. People with asthma are having incredibly difficult times. You can't really go outside. Animals need to stay indoors. So that's kind of apocalyptic as the world goes. But I must say that being at Sea Ranch writing was great. We passed evacuation centers as we went. That's not great. It was a strange and difficult feeling to be heading to do some writing with your girlfriends while on the side of the road there are people, filling their gas tanks just to get out, to get away, to get to safety. So, yeah, I don't know. Life is funny and hard and difficult and also very sweet and very good. So I came back yesterday and then went right to class, had a great memoir class last night. And I love that class. I never love teaching anything more than I do memoir. So, I don't know if I've told you guys. I probably have. I've probably told you everything multiple times because of this memory of mine. But I am writing a book on how to fast draft your memoir. So hopefully that'll be coming out in January or February at the latest. So keep your eye out for that. I'm really enjoying working on that. And I would like to shout out a new Patreon subscriber, Diane Lewis. Thank you, darling Diane Lewis. That is so meaningful to me, and I so appreciate it. If any of you all would like to support the Patreon, which gives me time to do things like this, record this podcast, you can come visit me over at patreon.com/Rachael, Rachael, and know that I so appreciate it. Now, since I'm running out of oxygen, let's get into the interview. Please enjoy, and I wish you very happy writing this week.
Hello.
Hello, Ryan. How are you today?
We meet again.
I am so glad that you're here.
Yeah. So
Yay.
you want to hear something cool?
Yes, I would love to.
So I just did an interview and they mentioned how they love you and Joe Thorne's podcast. I had them
Oh,
I had them just list a bunch of podcasts they like and they mentioned yours.
and they mentioned the pedal to the metal.
They did pedal
That's
to the metal and I want
wow.
to make sure you spell it right. So
Exactly. Thank you so much.
no, it's
Well,
great. I didn't know about it until you mentioned on my show and I was like, I'm gonna go check this out. It's great. So
it's
I think I listened to an episode. You guys are like you were changing something or you were trying to figure some things
oh
out or
yeah, we were switching to the pedal to the metal 2.0.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
what are we doing? Where are
What
we going?
what do we do
Kind of thing.
next? Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
glad you like it. Let me
Oh,
introduce you to listeners who don't know who you are. Folks, Ryan is on my show because I was on his show and he's just so cool and we connected and he's an awesome writer and is doing a lot of amazing stuff for writers. So that's super exciting. Ryan, let me introduce you real quick. Ryan J. Pelton is a pastor, writer, and founder of Rock House Publishing. Ryan has written 14 nonfiction and fiction titles. The fiction is under R.J. Pelton on a variety of subjects in multiple genres. In December of 2016, Ryan launched a popular podcast to help writers with the craft. It's called The Prolific Writer. When not making up stories in his head, Ryan could be found chasing around three hyper boys and convincing his wife books are more important than food. I didn't know you had three boys.
I do.
That's a lot of
And
boys.
actually a girl on the way. So that's exciting.
Congratulations.
Finally, my wife is so happy. So it's
Oh,
like finally,
when is the little girl coming?
January.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, we're really
Congrats.
excited. Yep.
Well, welcome to the show. I'm just super thrilled you're here.
Hey, so thank you so much. I've listened to your show, read your books. Like this is kind of weird. Like I
Yeah.
don't like I should be on this side. So
I think it is
thanks for
really,
having me.
really awesome. And I would love to talk to you about your process because you are, as they say, a prolific writer. So you've got a process nailed somehow. And let's get into it. When do you write? What's the best time of day for you to write? And where do you write?
It. I always say it doesn't matter, but by necessity for me, because I have small children and
Yeah.
the rhythm of my life, it's a lot of evenings. And then place, I mix it up. I'm not. I don't have to be in a certain chair, a certain place, but it could be the couch, the chair, a coffee shop. I don't really. It doesn't matter to me on a porch, on a back porch, in a park. I think I kind of maybe I'm just ADD. I don't know, but for me, it doesn't really matter.
Awesome. Where are you recording from right now? Is that your office that I'm looking
Yep,
at
my
on the
home
video?
office. Yep.
Okay. Great. And what is the absolute actually I skipped a question. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to writing?
It's funny. I just interviewed someone and he was talking about the same thing. Is it really is between my ears? I think every time I go to the page, it's always you're a phony, you're a wannabe. This is no good. Why don't you jump out of a window?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's just the constant. I can fool myself into thinking it's something else. If I just had a more comfortable chair, if I was a little bit taller,
I
if I was
slept better
smarter.
last night.
Yeah, right. It's if I didn't have so many kids. So when I get real honest, I think that's always my biggest challenge is just the self doubt, the fear, the resistance, all that fun stuff.
What is your biggest joy in writing?
So I thought about this long and hard, and this is going to sound funny, but I love all of that too. I love the pain. I love
Yeah.
the fear. I love the just everything about writing. The creative part it taps into when you have an opportunity to help someone. I write some nonfiction, so being able to help someone solve a problem, help them in whatever struggles. And then I've written some fiction too, and I got an email. Hey, thanks for your book. It helped me through a surgery, just to kind of pass the time. And it's like that's the stuff you don't really think about. Like, oh wow, like that's kind of big. It's not curing cancer, but so the joy part is also the pain part. There's just something about writing that there's a healing part. There's just a lot of great things that come from it.
I've never heard anybody say that so articulately, and I absolutely feel that I do kind of crave that pain. It's pain. It's horrible. We all hate writing, but we all love to hate writing, and it feels good. It's part of it. So I'm glad that you said that.
Well, I think let me just say one more thing is I had someone tell me that the pain is actually telling you that you're doing something that's important. And if it's easy, it's probably not that important. So
Well, it is very easy for me to watch Netflix and knit.
yeah, oh, well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like it's not hard. That doesn't ask anything of me.
It doesn't hurt my brain at all.
Yeah, I like ice cream too much, so it's like that's not,
Exactly.
So I just for writers listening, like I hope that it's just the hard part is actually because I think you're doing something really important. So
I love that.
there you go.
Thank you. What is the absolute best or worst writing advice you've ever been giving?
I love this question, and it couldn't be more timely because
Really?
I just heard the best writing advice, and I'm totally stealing it and ripping it off from Joe R. Lansdale. If you know who that is, he's written the
don't.
Happy Leonard series. It's on Sundance. It's actually a kind of crime thriller. It's kind of a goofy story, but he's a prolific guy. He's been around forever. He said his advice that he gives every writer is write like everyone is dead. And he basically says, it was in an interview I heard him, he said, I just think about everyone I love is dead. And he says, the reason I do that is because there's so much doubt and so much fear. And like, I'm thinking about my English teacher from third grade. I'm thinking about, what's my mom going to think? What's my friend going to think? What's my spouse going to think? And he says, the way I get going and I get to the writing desk every day is everyone is dead. And so, and then he says later, once everyone's dead, now they're alive again. He says, then that's when you do the feedback. That's when you can say, hey, what do you think about this? But he says to get going, you have to think that everybody's dead.
I love that advice, and I love how clear it is. And I think you know that I teach a memoir class, and I'm going to steal that from you via him, because I'm always telling my students, you're in no danger of your book that you're writing right now. You're in no danger of it accidentally landing on a bookstore shelf.
Yeah.
You're completely in charge. You get to write whatever you want, as if no one will ever read it and deal with that later. But that is a much more succinct way of putting it.
Well, and it's basically just saying I write for myself.
Yeah.
I mean, that first and foremost, like you have to have fun, you have to enjoy it, and you can't listen to all the voices. So kill them. Just kill them off.
It's so freeing to think about that. and then resurrect them. Can you share a craft
You
tip?
can bring them
of any-
back. It's okay. I mean, there's some you probably don't want to bring back, but you can be selective.
They can stay dead.
Right.
Can you share a quick craft tip of any sort with us?
Yes, I can.
Awesome.
This has kind of evolved over the years, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to go against some tips you give. And
Good.
It's funny. I just did an interview, and someone's like, I did an interview, and someone goes, "Hey Ryan, this is something you actually are against," and he like totally went against what I've said. So, and one is edit as you go.
What?
So I know you've gone against that, but you've actually prefaced that. You've said, when you're starting, edit as you go, or I forget how you said it, but anyway, and I'm going to tell you why, and this is for me very personally, especially if you're starting out, is that when I got to the back end of a lot of especially my novels, was I had such a mess that I was demotivated by all having to clean up so much stuff. And so when I say edit as you go, I don't mean, you're doing these really intense edits, but what I do is when I come back in the next day, my next writing session, is I just do some light cleanup. I kind of look at, where's the story going, what's going on, fix a few things, not super intense. But what it does, it also brings me back into the story. So I kind of feel the voice, I feel kind of what's going on. And then it kind of launches me into that writing day, because I feel like I've kind of read it. I've gotten the vibe for it. Because sometimes when you edit too much, you lose the voice. You kind of lose the vibe of the story if you're writing fiction, let's say. So I edit as I go. It helps me on the back end, so I don't have as much stuff to clean up. And then can I add one other thing?
You can add everything.
I always, no matter what, even if I have a deadline that someone's given me, I set my own deadline. And I'm going to say why. It's actually a deadline to have the book in the world. And here's why. Because I'm a perfectionist. Most writers are perfectionists. We live with fear. We live with resistance. But if I don't have a deadline to say, okay, Ryan, no more polishing, no more edits, just let it go. You got to let it go, because then you can move on to the next thing. And so that's a very tactical thing, but that's just also a very mindset thing, that if I don't have that on my calendar, I will drive myself crazy. And so it just kind of it's just a way of saying, let it go, and then go eat ice cream.
And watch Netflix and knit. Perfect.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
Go watch Netflix in your underwear and eat ice cream.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you talk about it, right? Celebrate. You got to celebrate.
I celebrate everything. I celebrate a chapter. Yep. I celebrate writing for the day. I celebrate writing a novel. And I agree with you about the edit as you go. That can actually really help. My caveat to that is always if you're revising as you go and you never finish books because you can't get past, chapter 10 or chapter 11, then that's probably not that's not an ideal method for you, and you should try writing all the way to the end. Yep. But if you're editing as you go and you're producing good books, then that is your method. That is fantastic. And I have done exactly what you said, where you edit the days before and you slip back into the stream of writing. It's a trick. You trick yourself getting back into it.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Perfect. So when you have self-doubt or dark days and that serious resistance moves in, how do you deal with it? Do you have any tips and tricks to handle it other than like gnashing your teeth?
So I was listening to a guy today and he said writing is blue collar work.
Word.
And we see it as white collar work. Mm-hmm. And so his thing was I call it the hard hat creative. You put on your hard hat every day and you go to work. When there's dark days and hard days, I try to write through it. And what I mean by that is it could just be 50 words, 100 words. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. But it's something about outrunning the fear, outrunning the doubt, outrunning the resistance by just writing. And it doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean it'll even make it into the book. But that's one thing. I feel like it kind of cleans the slate a little bit, like where I'm not going to let you win in that. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean we don't have like physical problems or health problems. I mean, that's a different thing.
Right.
But just like when it's just like I don't know why I'm doing this. Why am I wasting my life, my time, it's just getting to the page. And sometimes it could just be a blog post. It could be a letter to a friend. It could be an email. It's something, a way to kind of fight through that. And then I eat ice cream.
I really like your style.
So that's always usually part of it too. And I just say, hey, eat the ice cream. You're going to be okay.
What flavor?
I am like old school. I'm just straight chocolate chip. Like I don't get cute with it. It's just, no, it's not, because it's like chocolate chip it's not vanilla, like totally bland. Yeah, I mean, you got the chips in there, so at least you got something. But like that's all
texture,
I need.
Right?
Yeah, I don't need to get some weird Ben and Jerry, something I can't pronounce, or some weird mixtures.
I am the opposite of you.
Up.
I am white chocolate raspberry truffle.
Okay, yeah, that's my wife. So my wife is that. I'm like, what is in that? Like, there's
deliciousness,
macaroni and cheese, and like I don't understand.
I absolutely need ice cream tonight. Okay.
Yeah.
On really bad days, if you couldn't do any of this job and you could have any other profession, what would you choose?
Okay. So a little bit. So my day job, I'm a pastor. And so what that means is we deal in the spiritual realm, which means we see results. We don't see results. Let's say that. It's hard to discern. It's it's just one of those jobs. It's like, there's no ending. Like you're just 24/7. It never ends, right? So with that, I've always dreamed about owning a lawn mowing business, because I want this. I have it laid out. Like I have a plan. It's a riding mower that I own, and it's just my own business. I don't work with anyone else. I put in my earbuds. I listen to probably your podcast. I sip iced tea. I have a big probably floppy hat of some kind. And the reason why is because when you mow the lawn, you actually see results.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love just that feeling of completion. Like, hey, you stand back. I did that. I see the lawn. I see that, right? And I think in writing, sometimes we don't feel the impact right away. Obviously as a pastor, you don't feel the impact right away, but it's just something you can see like instant results. So like when I have friends that do work that's very like, now, like I went to work, I did this and it's done and I accomplished something. Engineer, right. I built that bridge today.
Built it, right.
Right. It doesn't always feel like that. So definitely lawn mowing man.
I love that. And I also have to just point out the I think it's a homonym. My brain is going blank, but you're talking about a riding mower or a writing mower.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
You're on it. That's awesome.
Yep.
What is the best book you've read recently and why did you love it?
Okay, so Adam Grant, I don't know if you know who that is, but Adam Grant wrote a book called The Originals.
Okay.
I think it's
Oh,
originals.
yeah, I've seen the cover and I keep meaning to pick it up.
Yep. How Nonconformists Move the World. I love books like this. He's kind of like a Malcolm Gladwell
Mm-hmm.
type writer. So he shows kind of how we think all these influential people, are so confident. They never have doubts. They never have fears. They just, Steve Jobs and all these people, they're so great. But he kind of blows all that myth up. And can I tell one story from the book? Um,
Absolutely.
because this just blew my mind. So Martin Luther King, as we all know, is giving his "I Have a Dream" speech, and one of the things he talks about in that is, this iconic speech. Everybody knows it. Everybody's heard it. It, brings you to tears. It's amazing. It's a dream we'd love for our country, our world, everyone to be united. It's a beautiful thing, right? And he talks about how first Martin Luther King got a lot of feedback from people before he did this speech in Washington D.C. and said, what should I talk about? What's the theme? What do I need to do? So Martin Luther King, he's getting all this input, and he's not ready to give the "I Have a Dream" speech. Like, he's actually walking to the stage, and it's not fully formed in his mind at this point. So as he's walking to the stage, a woman yells out, "Tell him about the dream."
What?
And what happens is throughout the entire, I think it's like 13 minutes. I don't remember exactly how many minutes. He keeps talking about, "I have a dream." And it was all because of that woman who yelled out, "Tell him about the dream." He didn't have that part planned. So I love the book. There's fantastic stories like that. It kind of blows up like the creative, world. We just think everybody's so put together and everyone has these original ideas. And it's like, it's not like that, great book, originals, Adam Grant, check it out.
I am going to check it out from the library probably because I know that they will have it. And I love my local library.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so what would you like to tell us about right now? Where can we find you? And
So I think the best place to find me is prolificwriter.net. So I have my podcast.
which is
and,
awesome, by the way. I have been listening to you.
yes, we have, Rachael Herron on there and
Don't listen to that episode.
Stephen King. And no, we haven't had Stephen King on. I talked about Stephen King. I actually fooled everybody. They thought he was on the show, but no, I will say I'm really proud of the show, not because of me, but because of the guests that come on and
Yeah.
just their vulnerability. And we just learn so much from them. And
You
so
ask
if you're
really good questions, though. I mean,
okay,
that's really coming from you.
all right, well, I'll take credit maybe a little bit, but no, it's just really insightful, just what I learned from the show. And then also the website, we have a lot of just resources and articles and things to kind of, and you can find all my books there and all my stuff about me if you're interested. And I will say, you said, is there anything that's coming? Well, I just wrote a book called By Way of Reminder. It's only 99 cents on Amazon.
Perfect.
And it's kind of it's a spiritual book about, when life is falling apart and, not a lot of books are, everything's happy clappy. But this book is actually about, how do we find encouragement when life is falling apart? My wife and we have 3 kids, but our second child died after 4 days. And I talk a little bit about that in the show, and just like where do you look for encouragement? How do we find hope? And so each chapter's, it's 31 days of reading, kind of spiritual reading, and then each chapter is like a different theme. When work is hard, when marriage is hard, when relationships are hard, when you lose a child, you get sick. Like where do we find encouragement? So, by way of reminder, check it out.
I will absolutely link to that because it just seems like everything is terrible right now. So I think
Yes.
I'm glad that you have that out there for us.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ryan. It's been such a joy and a pleasure to talk to you. I just find you delightful, and let's do more stuff together in the future.
Definitely, Rachel. Hey, thank you for what you do. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. We'll talk soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.